What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for another episode of Cookies Car Chronicles. Next up is Eddie Murphy. So, yeah, I just want to talk about the rise and fall of my love for Eddie Murphy. It's crazy. So, y'all, the first time that I ever knew what an Eddie Murphy was, I was 6 years old. My parents took me to go see Beverly Hills Cop 1. I think it was 1984. And y'all, the movie was fine. It was funny. It was great, whatever. But for whatever reason, of course, as a 6 year old, I don't understand what's going on. But for whatever reason, that movie really resonated with me. And I don't know if it's because it reminded me of like this really special moment that I shared with my parents. It wasn't the only movie that they took me to when I was young. But like I said, for some reason, this movie like hit me hard. And so I've always loved it. Always loved it. And I have watched it repeatedly throughout my life. And I'm not the kind of person to watch a movie more than once. There's a very select few movies that I will watch over and over again. And Beverly Hills Cop 1 is one of them. I never saw Beverly Hills Cop 2, 3, 4, however many came after that. I never saw. It's just something about that first one to me that is very, very special. And I don't want to tarnish the memory by watching any of the sequels. So I liked Eddie Murphy growing up. I admired him. I thought he was a funny actor. And I watched Coming to America. And I think those are and Coming to America too. Those are the only three for someone who is so enamored by Eddie Murphy. I've only seen three of his movies from beginning to end: Beverly Hills Cop 1, Coming to America, and Coming to America 2. Coming to America 2 was complete garbage. So it wasn't until now, okay, before we get there, I remember in the 90s, like the late 90s, I was transitioning from high school to college. And this is when that huge scandal came up where Eddie Murphy was caught with a transgendered prostitute by the name of Shalomar. I remember it being a really big deal. It was like all over the news. Paparazzi were following him like crazy. And whenever they would ask him about Shalomar, like what happened, why are you with a transgender prostitute in this really seedy part of town? Because you're like a celebrity A-lister. Why are you hanging out in the hood or whatever, picking up transgender prostitutes? Like, what are you doing? And he would just kind of laugh it off and say that he was being a good Samaritan. He was just giving somebody a ride home, and that was it. Unfortunately, Eddie Murphy kind of came out squeaky clean in this scandal, and Shalomar's reputation was ruined. So that night that they got caught, or the night that the police pulled them over, and I'm not even sure why the police pulled them over because no crime was being committed. I don't think there was any kind of traffic violation happening. Nobody was committing a crime, but for whatever reason, maybe because of the part of town that it was, cops, I guess, are on high alert. I don't know. They see a car parked, they're automatically suspicious and want to know what the hell is going on. So Eddie Murphy got let go that night because he didn't do anything wrong. Shalomar had an outstanding warrant, and Shalomar ended up going to jail. The National Enquirer, because the news was so big, the National Enquirer got involved, and they had offered to pay for Shalomar's bond to get her side of the story. Shalomar, her side to me looking back, but not me at that time, because me at that time, I wasn't paying too close attention, and I just kind of sided with Eddie Murphy, and I was kind of like, yeah, he was just being a good Samaritan. What's the big deal? But me, full grown, mature adult me now, thinking back, I can see that Shalomar's version was probably closer to the truth. And I think Shalomar had said that, no, this was going to be a transaction. I was working. Okay, he was my John. We were about to, go ahead and take care of business when the cop rolled up on us. So Shalomar, there obviously people wanted to hear more from Shalomar. And of course, Eddie Murphy and his side and his camp and his believers didn't want Shalomar to continue talking about this. And so less than a year later, Shalomar was found dead. I think her neighbor found her body sprawled out on the concrete or on the sidewalk because Shalomar had fallen 5 stories from her apartment building. And when her body was found, she was found clothed in like a bra, I think a pair of pants, no shirt, and a towel was found near her body. So it's very mysterious, like what happened. For whatever reason, it wasn't ruled as a suicide, which I'm thinking would have been the easiest way to close that, just to shut down the case. But it wasn't ruled as a suicide. Instead, what the cops had said was that she was locked out of her apartment. She climbed to the roof and she was going to use the towel to swing to an open window, I guess, on her floor. Very strange story. And it kind of like, I felt like at that time, then again, I was busy. My life was transitioning from high school to college and, all the stuff that goes with that. I don't really know like what was said, but it seemed like that whole situation with her being found dead was kind of swept under the rug. Um, and before she died, Shalomar had told people that she was receiving death threats. She was receiving threats, not death threats. I don't want to misquote, that she was receiving threats right before she died. So it just kind of seemed like the story just kind of went away. People wanted to believe. I think back then, y'all, like in the 90s and stuff, we were wanting, the 80s and 90s, we were wanting to believe our celebrities because there would be a lot of rumors coming out about celebrities that if they were to come out now, people will be doing a whole lot more digging because now we have social media, right? So not only do you have actual journalists, you have internet sleuths. So the stuff that's coming out now about celebrities, people are digging deep. But back then in the 80s and 90s and stuff, it's like if the celebrity said, hey, nothing happened, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything wrong, we just kind of believed them and went about our business. So I kind of dismissed it. It was no big deal. I was like, okay, some little scandal about him being caught with a transgender. What's the big deal? Transgender prostitute. What's the big deal? Nothing to see here. Let's move on. So as time went on, there was a point in Eddie Murphy's life where I felt like all of a sudden I was seeing him in a completely different light. He was always that goofy comedian, jokester kind of guy. But then like at a certain point in his life, Eddie Murphy manned up. He completely manned up. Like all of a sudden, like he matured overnight. He was like this grown man. Um, very like sophisticated, and when he would talk, like he would talk intellectually, and I don't know, I don't know, it was just like I saw him in a completely different light. And that's when like the lightning bolt hit me and I was like, I'm really digging this new and improved Eddie Murphy. He's not that young comedic actor, he's like this grown man now. He is an actor or whatever the hell. And so I kind of was like crushing on him hard. And I think it's probably around the time maybe he met his second wife, who he ended up marrying. And I think they have a couple of kids together now. So anyways, I'm just like enamored by Eddie Murphy now, right? And whenever he was giving interviews, he would just talk in this very calming voice, and he wasn't loud and obnoxious anymore. And he wasn't like always trying to like, be all jokey. Now he was funny. Now he had like a sense of humor. Now he had like a mature sense of humor. I just loved seeing him, like watching him talk, watching him in interviews. Anyway, so time goes on and I just got curious again. I was like, let me see what actually happened back in the 90s with Eddie Murphy and Shalomar. So when I was reading all the articles and all the Wikipedia about what happened to Shalomar, and then all of a sudden it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, damn, Eddie, you were up to no good. I have nothing against Shalomar. Shalomar to me, a working girl trying to, make ends meet for herself. Whatever. I'm nothing against Shalomar at all whatsoever. But then I started looking at Eddie Murphy in a completely different light. I was like, you're a real scumbag. Then it got even worse. The scumbag as far as like lying about the situation, and trying to make this story go away. And then him being somehow connected to this mysterious death of Shalomar. When I say connected, I'm not trying to imply that Eddie Murphy had anything to do with Shalomar's death. But it's like the timing of it all is very coincidental. Like less than a year after the scandal, Shalomar is no longer with us. So then Mel B steps into the picture, right? Okay, so I think this is like almost going on 20 years ago now. Mel B announces that she's pregnant, and she says that she's pregnant by Eddie Murphy. And it appeared to me that Eddie Murphy was trying to distance himself from this pregnancy, and from Mel B. And it kind of appeared like he was trying to imply that, Mel B gets around. I don't know if I'm the baby's pappy. I need a DNA test. Okay, instead of just automatically taking responsibility, he was doubting the fact that he could have been the father of her child. Mel B was firm on her stance that Eddie Murphy got her pregnant and that Eddie Murphy was definitely the father of her child. I don't know how much Mel B was talking about her side of the story, but from my recollection, it seemed like the only side we really heard was Eddie's side, where he was kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm the baby's father or not. I need a DNA test. Kind of like making it look like Mel B sleeps around and anybody can be the father. Kind of like making her look bad. And that's how I saw the situation. I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with him wanting a DNA test because who knows who she's been with. So fast forward now, and there's like, she's doing these interviews and she's talking more, I guess, about her side of the story. And I was shocked to find out that according to Mel B, her and Eddie Murphy were in a relationship, like in a real committed relationship. And she even said that he went as far as to ask her father for her hand in marriage. It wasn't a one night stand. They weren't, friends with benefits. They were in a real relationship. And I also remember her saying, I could be wrong, but I remember her saying that Eddie Murphy never wanted her to leave the house. Like, he always wanted her to stay inside the house because he was so worried about something happening to her. Now, I don't know if that was the reason why he wanted her indoors all the time or if he was trying to hide their relationship. I don't know what was going on there because I never knew that they had a relationship. I never saw them like together in public at all as if they were a couple. So that was very strange. It seemed like he wanted to be with her, but he didn't want other people to, he didn't want the world to know that they were together. Like, I don't know what was going on there because, like I said, there was no indication given whatsoever that they were in a relationship. She said that they were in a committed relationship, that they were engaged, that the baby was planned. The baby was planned. They both wanted that child. So it looks really strange and crazy that once she announces that she's pregnant, he's acting like he don't know her, and he had nothing to do with that child except providing financial support. That just kind of like, I'm like, who am I in love with? Why do I like this man? This man is awful. To deny your child, and the mom is saying that y'all are in a relationship, right? So somewhere there, somewhere between what he's saying and somewhere like from what he's saying and she's saying, somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? It's just strange and weird. Okay. I don't know. We've never seen them in a relationship. So that kind of goes in Eddie's favor because he can, like, y'all never saw us together. You never saw us holding hands or going out on dates or having dinner together anywhere. Paparazzi never caught us together. There's no pictures of us together. So yeah, me and her were not together. Whereas she was talking about how he would keep her in the house. He didn't want her to go outside. Like, but why would he want to hide his relationship with Mel B? Like, I don't think he was married at the time to anybody. So why would he want to hide his relationship with Mel B? It's just very confusing. Whatever happened between them, a baby came out of it. And he kind of looks like a crappy dad to Angel. Because I have seen pictures of like family photos, and Angel is included when he takes pictures with all of his children because he's got like 10 kids or something. I have seen photos of him of Angel in family photos. I've seen that. But as far as like any type of video or photos of just Eddie and Angel together, I have never seen that. I'm not saying that it never happened. There's probably tons and tons of pictures out there, probably with the two of them together out and about town. I've just never seen them. So he kind of comes off as a crappy father. He comes off as a big time liar, and he would rather lie to save his reputation, to protect his reputation, and then make someone else look bad in the whole situation with Shalomar. And yeah. And like I said, back in the 90s and stuff, we thought these celebrities, what we saw was what we got. Like, we thought that if they appear to be good people, then they were good people. But now in recent times, when you hear all of these scandals with Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein and all this stuff happening, you're realizing that everything is smoke and mirrors. Okay, these people are not what they seem. And so, but when you compare Eddie Murphy to, let's say, Arnold Schwarzenegger had a child outside of his marriage while, he was still very much married to Maria Shriver. He had a kid, he had an affair with, was she like the nanny or the maid? He had an affair with an employee, someone who was in his home providing services for, his family. And he has an affair with her, gets her pregnant, like completely crazy, bizarre stuff is happening over there. But he is still in that child's life. Him and his son have a relationship. Unfortunately, his other children don't have a relationship with his son. But you see Arnold with his son all the time. They're always together. You see them together all the time. And he stepped up to the plate. He developed a relationship with his son. He provided for his son. Whereas Eddie Murphy just threw money at the situation, hoping that, it would all go away or that people would forget. And we haven't forgotten, Eddie, that you're a really crappy dad to Angel. We haven't forgotten. Shame on you, Eddie Murphy. So now I'm sorry. Now Angel is about 20 years old. Oh no, 18 years old, I think. I think Angel is 20 years old. Angel has come out as a trans man, and I've heard rumblings that Eddie Murphy has been having a very difficult time dealing with that. If that's true, if he's been having a difficult time dealing with Angel transitioning into a man or into a trans man, that kind of implies that maybe they do have a relationship. And because he has to see his child differently now and he's struggling with that, maybe they do have a relationship. Because if he had nothing to do with Angel at all, if they have no history whatsoever and were not involved in each other's lives, would he be struggling like this? He would have been like, that's got nothing to do with me. I barely know that person. But because he's struggling, so they say, so I've heard, maybe they did have a relationship behind the scenes that wasn't very public. Because, he tried to hide his whole relationship with Mel B. So maybe he's hiding his relationship with his child as well. So who knows? But yeah, I used to like really, really be into Eddie Murphy. And then slowly but surely, I've come and I've seen the light and I've seen him in all his goriness. And yeah, I'm no longer a fan. I'm cool. I'm cool on that. I'm really cool on that. No longer a fan. Very disappointed in him. And rest in peace to Shalomar. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later.